Hello everyone. I'd like to take some time today to show you how to do a simple cross-subject area report. Many customers have this use case. Within our out-of-the-box reporting solution, we ship a cross-subject area report that we call My Attainment versus Goal, in which we show the participant attainment values versus their goal. So I'd like to show you how to create that report as a base for learning how to create incentive compensation cross-subject area reports in general. So I'm just going to use that as my use case. So I want to create a report that shows me participant attainment and have me be able to compare that attainment against the goal that was created for that performance metric. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a report and I'm going to add my primary subject area. So the first one that I'm going to choose is the incentive compensation earnings and attainment summary subject area, which is going to give me my attainment information for an individual. And then the second one that I'm going to choose is the period goals for the participant. Down here, participant period goals real time. So I'll add that too. So you can see I have both of them here now. Now, one of the first things you have to learn about creating cross-subject area reports is that if you're adding multiple subject areas to a report, they have to share a common dimension. So here I'm going to choose the participant as our dimension. So I'm going to choose from the first subject area, the participant value. Now what this is going to do is it's going to join these two subject areas based on the participant. So now that I have the participant, let's go about adding other things to this report. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the period because I want to be able to constrain the data that's coming back. And I also want to add the participant's compensation plan. And then from within that compensation plan, I'm going to want to know about the performance measure. I'm going to choose the performance measure. I'm going to choose the unit of that measure. And I'm also going to choose the interval type, which tells me how often this performance measure is calculating attainment. The other thing I want to pull from the subject area is the attainment value itself. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to choose this metric, interval to date attainment, and I'm going to add that. You can tell these are metrics by this little measurement icon, this yellow ruler. All right, so I'm done with this subject area. Now the next thing I have the participant, I have the period, I have the measures. I need to get the goal for this participant. So I'm going to open the period goal, and then I'm going to select interval to date target. So that's going to give me the target value for the interval. Okay. Now I have a lot of people in this system, so I'm going to want to constrain, just for report creating purposes, the amount of data that's coming back. So I'm going to choose an individual that I already have in the system named Lisa Jones. I'm going to select her and I'm going to shuttle her over, and then that's going to add this participant filter down here. Okay. I'm also going to prompt for other columns which I haven't added to this. So I'm going to create prompts later that will add to this report, and I want to be able to choose the year as a prompt. So from here I'll choose is prompted, year is prompted, and then I'm also going to choose period, and I'm going to say the period is prompted. And then the last thing I want to prompt is for the performance measure name, and I'll say is prompted also. Okay, so that'll set us up for later. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to say save as. Now, since I'm in a development environment, I have to be careful where I save it, but as a general rule, you want to save your custom reports in the shared folders under custom and then under incentive comp. You can see here I've added my own temp folder for for me to be able to clean up later. So I'll say attainment versus goal. Now it's important that you save things into this custom incentive compensation folder so that in the future, if we release a new catalog of reports, that your customized reports don't get overwritten. So anything that's in that custom folder will remain. And as we publish new reports and update the system, you'll get the new reports, but it won't affect your old ones, which is important that you not save things with the same name in the same areas that we ship the out-of-the-box reports. That's just a general best practice. So let's look at our results here. By default, when you click on the Results tab, it's going to add a table view for you. So you can see here's our table view, and then you can see down here, this is the table that we're talking about. So there's two parts to this compound layout right now. We have the title and the table. I want to create something else. I want to be able to create another view, graph type. So I'm going to choose bar graph, and I'm going to say I want a vertical bar graph. All right, so now you can see I have bar graph here, and then I have the layout pieces below. So you can see from the layout top, it's prompting me for all these different things, and I don't want that in my graph. I just want the graph because I'm going to use prompts later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the items that are in the layout that are put in as prompts, and I'm going to exclude them. I'm going to exclude the period, I'm going to exclude the measure, I'm going to exclude the unit, and the rest of them. And I'll pull the plan down. Okay, so I want to pull the participant down also. And then I'm going to replace the grouping with the period. So now what I end up having is I have my interval to date attainment and my attainment value represented by the blue and the orange. And then on this axis, I have the periods, right? So now I can see for March, that's my target. And then this is the attainment value towards that target. So I can compare these two. And I'm going to say done. Now you notice it'll take me back to my compound layout. Okay. Now I'm going to delete this table. And it's only going to delete it from my compound layout. It's not going to remove it because it's still here. And I can just drag it back out again. But what I want to do is I want to be able to create a toggle between these two. So what I'm going to add now is a view selector. So I'm going to say view selector. And I'm going to add the graph. And I'm going to add the table. So that's the graph and that's the table. Okay. And then I'm going to say done. So now I'm back at my compound layout. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my view selector, which is going to give me my graph. And I can switch to the table. Okay, now I'm going to save this. So I'm going to say save as. Actually, I'm going to say save because we've already saved it where we wanted to. So now I'm done with this report, but I want to add prompt values to this. So what I need to do first is to create those prompt values. So I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say dashboard prompt. And I'm going to base it off of my initial subject area, which is the earnings and attainment summary. It opens up the prompts. So I'm going to add some. I'm going to say column prompt. And I'm going to go into the calendar and I'm going to add the year. And I'm going to say cannot select multiple values. And I'm going to require the user input. I'm going to add another one. This time I'm going to choose the performance measure name. Okay. And again, I'm going to go in here and say cannot and is required. You can see down below it's adding them as I'm putting them in. And then I'm going to add one last one for period. So no, no, required. I'm going to limit the values here to only the ones that are included in the year. You can see it stacks some here, but I don't want it to be stacked because I want to maintain as much vertical space in my report as possible. Now there's this column over here called new column, and you'll see as I select them that it adds a new column for each one of these. So this looks pretty good. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to check this and I'm going to remove this page 1. That's just a title that will come up that I don't want within my dashboard. Okay, so now I'm going to save this as. Again, in my temp folder within custom. So custom incentive comp temp. And I'm going to call these global attainment prompt. Okay, so now we have that saved. I'm going to go, now I'm going to get new and I'm going to say dashboard. This is where we're going to bring things together. Okay. So the name of my dashboard is my attainment versus goal. And I want to choose a different location. So I'm going to browse the catalog. And I'm going to put it in my custom folder again in temp. So I'm going to say OK to that. And it's going to warn me that it's not going to appear in this dashboard menu because it's not grouped with the other application dashboards. That's fine with me right now for demo purposes. I'm not really concerned with where it's placing it. I just want to make sure that I can go back and delete it later out of this environment. So I'm going to say OK here. This is going to ask me to add content now. All right, so it's going to open up the dashboard editor. The first thing I'm going to want to do is add a column. So I'll add that. And then I'm going to want to add 2 sections. I'm going to add one here, and I'm going to add one below it. So here I'm going to say rename, and I'm going to rename this prompt. And then this one I'm going to rename Okay, so I have this catalog area down here where I can start adding things that we've created. So I'm in my custom folder, I'm in the incentive compensation folder, I'm in my temp folder, and I'm going to add my global prompt, and then I'm going to add my attainment versus goal report. And then I'm going to preview. Okay, the layout looks fine, so now I'm going to run this. Actually, I want to save it first. Now I'm going to run it. 2015 product sales, January. There you go.